My name is Dr. Sharon Mistretta. I work for U.S. Satellite in the Endeavor STEM Teaching Certificate Project. We're a NASA education partner. We enroll teachers in international and U.S. domestic settings, such that we are allowing them to learn about STEM methods. Specifically, I teach coding robotics and one-to-one devices and advanced coding robotics and one-to-one devices. I have been a programmer for over 40 years. Before I became a certified teacher, I worked as a technical officer for money center banks in New York City. I have a deep interest in artificial intelligence as a programmer, and I discovered an article by Dr. Talagala that she wrote in Forbes. And what I did is I essentially followed the breadcrumb. I followed what company she worked for, and it turned out she's the founder of AI Club. And I reached out to her via email because I noticed that she offered artificial intelligence programming. And that's something I'm very deeply interested in because I wanted to learn it myself as a programmer, but also I wanted to teach my teachers how to program and learn about artificial intelligence so that they can integrate it into their curriculum for their students. It is important to me that I teach teachers so that I can have a ripple effect to their students in international and domestic settings. So I wanted to learn about how to code machine learning models. And I met with Nisha, and she invited me to one of her symposiums where her students were showcasing their research. And to be honest with you, I was absolutely blown away when I witnessed a 7th grader showcasing her work about how she used a CNN, convolutional neural network, so that she can examine skin cancer and compare uploaded images of individuals that are concerned about potential of skin cancer on their bodies, and they uploaded it to her model, which she trained on a database of known cases of skin cancer. And it is just such an amazing thing on so many levels. She's a 7th grader. She learned how to program a machine learning model. She programmed something that was deeply interesting to her. And she also published research. So I knew that this is where I wanted to be. I wanted to learn how to program the machine learning models. And then I wanted to learn as much as I could about artificial intelligence and the impact that it's going to have on our education and our world. And then I wanted to teach my teachers, which I'm doing right now. I'm teaching my teachers how to program artificial intelligence, use large language models, and to use platforms such as ChatGPT and Gemini as tutors and learning agents so that we can then align ourselves for our students and with our students so that they can be very successful in a very changing workplace for our world. My knowledge before joining the program of artificial intelligence was my own research. And also when I saw that I was able to get a ChatGPT subscription, I immediately went and enrolled in a subscription for ChatGPT and started to play with that. I also started to research how to engineer my prompts such that I can get the most effective answer from the model and the large language model. And also what I was doing is I was just learning by doing, because the way that I could help my teachers is by posing a prompt that I can then fill a 5E lesson plan that we use at our Endeavor program so that they can really get a leg up on all of the lesson planning and assessment planning and rubrics that teachers have to do. Teachers spend a tremendous amount of time planning. And with large language models, I was able to fine-tune a prompt and teach my teachers such that they can use a large language model to develop their lesson plans, to develop their rubrics, to get creative ideas about lesson planning, and then to implement those things in the classroom. So essentially, my knowledge of artificial intelligence was learning by doing. And then after that, I wanted to teach my teachers what I experienced. With AI Club Pro, it really took me to another level, because now I know how to program machine learning models and how to also utilize those techniques in my instruction to my teachers such that they can implement those in their classrooms, and then they can teach their students how to do the same. With the help of Dr. Sindhu Ganta, I was able to take a database that is a national health database and to examine that database with learning, with machine learning, so that I was able to learn about KNN, nearest neighbor. I was able to learn about random forest. I was able to learn about neural networks and to apply them to the database such that I was able to decipher, with the fine-tuning that I did of the hyperparameters, so that I can predict with the model about self-regulated learning, which is something that is one of the topics that I wanted to write a book chapter about. So I was able to learn about how to find and identify the most accurate model so that I can then use that to predict college completion using the data and the features of the database that I was examining. So I was able to take my programming to another level so that I can decipher information from the database and then share my knowledge in a chapter such that I can describe all of the steps that I had to do to reach my conclusion of a random forest most effective and most efficient model that I can use to predict college completion among the data in our database. The most valuable part of the program was having educators and having experts in the field, such as Dr. Sindhu Ganta, so that I can describe what I was trying to accomplish, and then she would find ways to teach me how to accomplish this. So really what I valued is not only the curriculum, which was able to teach me how to program in Python, large machine learning models, but also I was able to have an absolute expert in the field so I can bounce ideas off of and ask questions and ask for clarifications. And the way that we learn is not by just studying a book and not just about reading articles, but anything that is in the workplace is collaborative. We always work together on solutions, and it was extremely valuable for me to have an expert such as Sindhu so that I can bounce ideas off of, so that I can ask for clarifications. And she always found an answer for me. And it was an answer that I can then move on further in my study of artificial intelligence. So I believe that the best thing about the program was the partnership and the ability to dialogue with experts in artificial intelligence. I believe that Nisha and Sindhu are experts in artificial intelligence education, and they have their finger on the pulse, a very rapid pulse of artificial intelligence as it impacts our world, as it impacts our lives, as it impacts our teachers, who are very important to me, and the ripple effect to our students. My final project was data-driven insights into self-regulated learning, and it described the chapter that I wrote having to do with the different solutions that I had to investigate, and it thoroughly gave me the opportunity to accomplish a machine learning module. And then I was able to take that and to write a book chapter in a peer-reviewed book. So it was very interesting to me because in my doctoral program, when I received my doctorate, I was doing mostly social sciences. My dissertation is Understanding Gender-Based Attitudes in STEM Environments. So that is very embedded in the social sciences. And what I needed to do was to fine-tune how I describe a project having to do with fine-tuning the hyperparameters of my machine learning model, and also pair that with the concepts of self-regulated learning, which have a lot to do with self-efficacy. And I was able to take the data that was in the database that is the National Longitudinal Study of Health, and I was able to take the features that I was very interested in, such as the features that align with self-regulated learning, and then to have a predictive model such that I was able to show that those that had strong self-regulated learning attributes had a strong predictive model of completing college. So I thought that that was just a game changer for me. And it was showcased, my project, my capstone project was showcased in a peer-reviewed chapter. And that was very important to me because I really did step out of my comfort zone. As I had said, I did social sciences. I knew about all the theoretical frameworks having to do with what individuals go through to learn. I had to pair that with the ability of a machine learning model to make predictions in a large database, which is something that as humans, we might miss those patterns. We will miss those patterns, but by showing that we can take our students and ask them to answer certain questions about their self-efficacy, and then show that the patterns of the students that had answered this information in the National Database of Health, that I can have a predictive power to show that the students that have the strong self-efficacy, have strong attributes of self-regulated learning, can have a strong prediction of completing college. And the way that I had to express that was very different than my social sciences. I had to really address more mathematical levels having to do with the models that I created, the percentages of the accuracy, the testing of the database, where I had to divide the database between testing, between training and testing. And it was a very big step up for me in terms of my learning experience, but partnering with Nisha and Sindhu helped me to transform my knowledge and increase my knowledge such that I can write in a different genre of research, even though I was using statistical analysis for all of my social sciences. I was using now statistical analysis having to do with the database that I examined using machine learning, so that I can then show my colleagues in the education industry that we should not ignore the data that is available for us to take a look at with our students. I believe that in education, we really collect a lot of data, but we do not examine it. And by learning about artificial intelligence and machine learning, and all of the different types of machine learning, and how I can send that database through its paces such that I can look for the most accuracy and the most predictive way that the model can show us patterns in the database. This is something that I want to share with my education community such that we can move just beyond the descriptive statistics that we usually use when we're looking at student data and move to more predictive models that will really, I believe, help our students and help our teachers guide our students towards success. I have already started my second level of coursework with AI Club Pro. And now what I am doing is I am examining the ethics in AI, specifically applied to student data and data privacy. And I am using a model so that I can create my own project so that I can take the articles that I have found to do a meta-analysis on this topic, and then to have an AI model take a look at the patterns in the articles so that I can complete a comprehensive meta-analysis using a model that I create that will streamline the process of identifying the keywords and identifying the participants that the authors are talking about, the setting, their methods, whether they're qualitative or quantitative, or mixed methods. So it is helping me to do my research, and I plan to create a model such that I can then offer that model to other researchers who will be doing a meta-analysis. So this is my next project. And also I am now using what I learned in my classes. So it's not just my own research. What I'm doing is I'm helping my students to use artificial intelligence and large language models to help them research what they want to do with students in their classrooms. As I had mentioned, I work for a NASA education partner. One of my Endeavor students is a science teacher in 8th grade, science teacher in a Title I school. She and her students are participating in a NASA Tech Rise competition, and what they're doing is really neat. They are launching sensors that they are programming, and the sensors are going to collect ozone and UV and CFC levels as it's being launched in a weather balloon. But what my student didn't know how to do was to program the sensors in Python. And what I did with her is I partnered with her to query the large language model, and I happen to use ChatGPT, so that I can ask it for sample code, because I had never programmed sensors that are going to be launched in a weather balloon. So working with her, I was able to find standardized code to program those sensors, and then also to break apart that code and to teach her about the libraries in Python, to teach her about the different types of numbers, integers and float as it's expressed in Python, and how to take a look at her data. The weather balloon is being launched at the end of the summer. Then she's going to take that data, and we're going to meet again so we can take a look at that data and perhaps make predictions with maybe logistic regression, such that we're making predictions about the ozone and UV impact on the Earth. So what I had learned from AI Club Pro is specifically being used in my classroom with my teachers in the field. I try to couple everything that they do, my students, with STEM projects, which they create lesson plans as part of their assignments and assessments for my course. I'm also working with several of my teachers to do a CNN, convolutional neural network, where they are uploading pictures of similar species, but that have to be deciphered as to whether something is, for instance, a bird or a penguin. And they're uploading that into something called a teachable machine, such that they can then implement that in their biology and zoology courses. So this takes my teaching to a new level, because in the past, my teachers might have had them do a PowerPoint presentation about different species and what are their attributes. But now I'm able to give them a tool so that their students can learn about an artificial intelligence method such that they can upload pictures and have the model predict whether it belongs in a species of a subspecies of the duck bird versus a penguin bird. And it just really takes my teaching and what I can offer my students to a new level. So by doing this, all these things that I learned in AI Club Pro are being implemented in the field with my teachers in my 2 courses. The things that I just talked to you about are in my 101 course, so to speak, the Coding Robotics and One-to-One Devices. And then I am now fine-tuning my Advanced Coding Robotics and One-to-One Devices course, which is offered next semester, because I'm also teaching them how to take the LeetCode website, which is used for programmers in their interviews. And I'm going over the problems with them, but also partnering with ChatGPT as an agent, so that I can have them produce code, but then explain the code and then run the code, run each module. Luckily, the LeetCode is divided into beginner, intermediate, and advanced coding. So depending on their skill level, I will work with them to advance to the next level of the programming of LeetCode. I'm also, as an offshoot, I'm also doing vibe coding with them, because what we're doing with the large language models is I'm taking data that we find, for instance, on the NOAA website, which has to do with climate change and climate anomalies. I'm having that website produce a graph, but then we take a screenshot of that graph and download it. We download the data that's available on the NOAA website. I'm popping that into ChatGPT and asking it to, with a well-written prompt, to produce Python code that can reproduce that graph that the NOAA website produced, and then place that into Google Colab, which was what I learned with AI Club Pro and Sindhu. And I'm able to have them work on the program in Google Colab to fine tune it and to discover what we need to do to tweak that code such that it runs and produces that same graph. So it is, and also I took it a step further, that I did it with I put it into a logistic regression model, so I'm able to predict the climate with them. So this really opened up a portal, so to speak, so that we are stepping out of our mundane practices where we are having students just report on things, but in a very boring way, and step into actually programming and actually analyzing this data and talking about this data. So as collaborative as my coursework is with AI Club Pro, I also have a collaborative approach with my budding programmers. That's why they come to my course. That's why my student came to my course having to do with the TechRise project, because she knew that she didn't know how to program and she needed to learn more about programming. And I think that she's happy that she did, because we were able to program her sensors And we're able to then at the end of the summer watch this go up in a weather balloon. She also included a camera on her board so that it's going to take the pictures of what is happening as they're ascending into the stratosphere, and are able to show that data to students. It really does take their learning to a next level.